Hey guys, Josh Stewart here. Got a Craftsman lawnmower, older model, that we're going to hopefully fix today. The client brought it to me with a bag of screws, which is kind of fun, and she was going to fix it, but then she got into it and was like, let me call somebody else. So she could probably do it, just have to watch a few more videos. I've done a couple hundred of these, so they're easier for me. But let's take a look at it. First thing we do when we're troubleshooting a motor is we see if there's any life left in it. We're going to pop this spark plug off, spray some starter fluid into it, and see if there's life in the mower. I think there is, but I just always like to double check. Now we are going to replace that spark plug, see how dirty and oily that is. So even before we start it up, I'm going to get a new spark plug. You can get this one at Walmart for a couple bucks. And it doesn't have to be exactly the same. You just want to make sure the threads on the bottom look the same, and they do. So that's what we're looking for. When you're tightening these, you don't want to go super tight, you just want it to be snug. That's good. That means there's life in this. Let's continue to take it apart and see what's going on. So it's actually kind of neat. She's already taken some of these pieces off. I'm just going to put them to the side here. Now I'm just going to make sure that this pull cord assembly is secure. You don't have to take this off to fix what we need to fix. All right, we have the pull cord assembly secured again, and we're just going to we just leave it alone. We don't need to mess with it. Now we're going to take the carburetor off and clean this out and see what's going on. A couple bolts that hold the tank on. We got to take the whole tank assembly off. So there's one bolt here and one bolt here. So we're going to take both of those out. And now there's a little linkage right here, and we just need to lift this and lift it up a little bit, find out which direct, there we go, and take it off of there's a little hole right here that goes in, and so we just took that off of there. We'll get back to this in a moment. One thing I see here, there's this little plastic retaining ring, and that holds a O-ring, which she had in the little bag. See the little O-ring? That O-ring goes into the throat of the carburetor there, and we'll put that in there in just a minute after we clean it. In fact, let's go ahead and clean it. I've got some fuel in an old pail here, and I'm going to take a brush and we're just going to clean it. All right. One thing I had noticed, and she confirmed when she dropped it off, is that the primer bulb here has been replaced, but you see how this white ring is kind of sticking out? That means that it's not all the way in, and that's because the old ring is still in there. These are actually, oh, and I see how easy that pulls out? So that's a primer bulb. It's a good primer bulb, but we need to get the old one out. There's a little slit right there and a little spot right there. We're just going to shove the screwdriver there and wiggle that thing out. So usually these are not this difficult to come out. It does seem like this one has some glue somewhere on it here, but we're going to get it out. And there it is. So we'll leave that out for a little bit, and after we clean out the carburetor, we'll put the new one in. I'm going to dump this fuel. I don't know how old it is, and oh wow, watch how dirty this fuel is. that could be why it wasn't starting in the first place. So I use fuel like this to clean with, just like we just did. All right, so we're gonna take this carburetor off and we're gonna clean it. To do that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Phillips head screws that we're going to take off. All right, now that we have all these screws loosened all the way, we're going to lift the carburetor out. When we need to break it free, there it is. We're gonna just lift it out carefully because we don't want to mess up the rubber gasket underneath there. Underneath you can see, let's take the screws off. We'll just shake those, put them aside. Underneath here you can see the screen and the, I'm not sure what this tube is called, but that sucks fuel up. And there's a little spring here, you don't want to lose that. So we're gonna clean all in here. And I do see a little debris on the screen too, so it's going to be good to clean. You can take this off if you want to. And we'll make sure to get it all nice and clean. There's a well here that holds gas as it pumps it in there, and so we're just going to scrape the gunk in there and clean it out. All right, this is where I take my hand gloves off for a little bit because I want to have clean fingers. My gloves have oil on them. All right. Got some carburetor cleaner. Make sure you put your goggles on. I'm going to go ahead and peel this gasket off. All right, leave that. It's 2 parts, but they're connected, so we're going to leave them alone. All right, spray some more. Got a little green pad here. I'm just going to give a little surface cleaning to this area where the gasket meets the tank. All right, I've got a wire. I'm gonna pass that through some of these jets. Looks like there's just 2 jets, one here and one here. Spray some carburetor cleaner through them. That's that one. And that's that one. All right, looking at this little tube here. It's probably called like a pickup tube or something, like a fuel pickup tube. Not really sure, but that sounds reasonable. Here's our carburetor. Pull the screen out. You could pull the jet out here. I don't always do that. They don't always come out easily. You know, I don't want to damage the carburetor, but let's see if it comes out easily. No, we're going to leave that alone because I don't want to damage it. And honestly, I've never had an issue where that's been the thing with these carburetors. Let's go ahead and put this pickup tube back in. There we go, popped in. That looks pretty clean, guys. While we're here, let's put the new primer bulb in properly. You see the little tabs there. They're going to go to where they're sticking out either side here. So you just line it up. And get a little screwdriver. All right, well, it's in there as securely as I'm comfortable doing without risking damaging the carburetor, and it's not coming out at all. So I'm comfortable with that, even though it didn't pop in like it's supposed to on that side, but I think the same reason it was hard to get off. There's something in there, maybe some type of residue that I didn't see, but it is functioning, and we're going to go with that. All right. Spray the screen out. See some residue right there. The screen back in place. All right, we're gonna put this gasket back in place, and you just follow the shapes right there. See how that goes there? Now, if you're putting a new gasket on, you'd put the thinner part on the bottom, and then the frame or the thicker part that holds it down on top. It's a two-part gasket. And then we're just going to gently position this back on. Kind of do it sideways there a little bit. See a speck. Need to get that off. Got my spring. Yep, spring's still there. That's good. All right. Sometimes I use a little screwdriver to line up the holes of the gasket, make sure that everything is just right. And then we're going to put all 5 of our screws in position. All right, I've got them just a little bit snug, and now I'm going to tighten them one more time, and then I'm going to tighten them all the way. All right, that is ready to put back on. We're going to slide it right there, but first we need to make sure we have the O-ring and the retainer clip. Little O-ring goes right there. Retainer clip pops in like so, and then the whole thing, we turn it around, and we're going to first attach it to the linkage. So the linkage right here, and it goes in that hole right there. There we go. And we press it on. Make sure the linkage moves nicely. It does. Reattach the tank. You don't want to tighten these all the way yet because you want them both in place before you do that. It'll be easier. All right, now we can tighten them both. All right, this little breather tube connects in here to the carburetor. The thicker part goes on the carburetor, and the thinner part goes on the little tube. You can kind of just tell that by looking at it. And this pops right on. All right, let's put a little fuel in there. And I'm going to start it up before I put the air filter back on. I do need to put, there's a spring that connects this part of the linkage here. I think I saw that in this bag. There's a little spring, and that connects from this little wing thing on the carburetor that controls the flow of gas. And we're going to connect it all right. Let's try it out. Prime it a few times, and you can actually see the gas. There it is. Let's see if it starts. That's awesome. So it is good to go. We're going to clean the filter. We're going to change the oil, and we're going to sharpen the blade. So let's do that real quick. Here's the old filter. It actually looks pretty good on the top, not so great on the bottom, but it's still usable. So we're going to soak it and clean it. some of that residue off. Yeah, the way you know if a filter's still good, if it's still springy. And look how springy that one is. All right, it's all clean. Let's blow out that filter. Pretty easy to reassemble. Just pop it in this little case here. Put the lid on it. Always make sure that the angle of the air cover is going towards the angle there. That's the way it's built. It's designed to go that way. Screw goes down the center, and we're good to go. Let's go drain this oil and take a look at the blade. All right, doesn't really matter, but just for curiosity's sake, let me look what this oil, see what this oil looks like. Pretty black. Wonder what level it is. A lot of times you see people overfill these. Not sure why, it's just a fact. This is actually the right level. You see where the black is? It says full right above that. That's the perfect level, so she did a good job on that. I found the easiest way to drain oil from a lawnmower is just to tilt it. See the oil draining out there. Gas is actually leaking out too. Let me see if I can, really can't do anything about that except plug that hole with my finger, but that's okay. We'll just let it clean the engine. I might disconnect the spark plug because I'm gonna mess with the blade here in a moment. All right, that blade actually looks really good. I have disconnected the spark plug. Anytime you mess with a blade, disconnect the spark plug. You just want to be safe. I'm going to check to see if this is straight, so I'm going to look at the position of the blade to the frame on this side, and then I'm going to tilt it, I'm going to rotate it rather, and it's the same position on the other side of the blade. That means our blade and shaft appear to be nice and straight. And then this has a great edge on it, so this doesn't need to be sharpened. And the edge is always on the top side. Whenever you put a new blade on, the edge of the blade goes towards the bottom of the mower, not towards the ground. And this one looks great. And the way you know that a blade looks good, here, let me get this positioned. You want to wear gloves for this kind of stuff. The way you know if a blade is good and sharp is if the edge looks about the thickness of a butter knife. So you can see right here, that's about the thickness of a blade of a butter knife, and that's just about perfect. All right, we've got all the oil, most of it at least, drained out. We're gonna put our mower upright again. One thing I didn't mention, and it's obvious here because the oil fill hole is on this side of the mower, but you always, if you tip a mower, you always want to either tip the carburetor up or the spark plug up. You never want to tilt it the other way because oil could get in parts of the engine that doesn't need to get in. All right, how much oil needs to go in, and how do you know what type? Use 10W30 motor oil. Regular motor oil is fine. I get it from Walmart because it's inexpensive, and you don't need like high performance oil for your lawnmower. And then as far as the amount, every mower is going to have a specific amount, but I have found that about 400 milliliters, which I have a little cup here, about 400 milliliters is what does it. It's probably about 2 cups. I'm not positive, but Google it. So 400 milliliters we're going to put in here to start with. See if that does the trick. All right, let's check and see how the level's looking. I do an initial check and then I start the mower and do another check. Looks like it may need a little more, but let's start it first. All right, I just took that mower off the gravel and started it. Keep in mind you got to reconnect your spark plug, and you may have to actually take the spark plug out and pull it a couple times if you have flooded the engine during the tip, when you had the mower tipped. All right, let's look at this level again. Pull it out. Wipe it down, pull it back out. Let's see. And I need to add a little more. So this might need 500 milliliters because 400 should have been pretty close. The difference between 400 and 500 is this is 400 here, this is 500 there, so I'm just going to add another 100 milliliters of oil, maybe 150. All right, that should be good. All right, that's about perfect. You can see, maybe you can see, but right there it's wet all the way up to that line where it says full. All right, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to call the client. Actually, I'm going to text the client. All right, that sounds pretty awesome. I'm going to text the client and let her know it is ready to be picked up. And I'm going to wipe it down and have it looking nice for her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe.